All right, so welcome to lecture three. There's three. I gotta tell you guys really quick. Okay, a while ago, I stopped re-recording these lectures because the re-recordings were just worse than the first version. But this is just like, oh my gosh, I really suck at this. It's gonna get better though. You wait and see. All right, so the next thing we're gonna talk about is why we would study the history of the idea, of the history of utopian thought. Why would anybody want to do that? And the answer is, well, I've got three answers. Um, there's three reasons. So first, because there are many kinds of thinkers who share this impulse. As we think about how interdisciplinary inquiry works, especially in the humanities, you start to realize that there is no one silo of thought that's unaffected by other possibilities. So there are so many different kinds of thinkers who share this impulse to move society toward a better or more perfect place. Almost everyone, from artists to engineers, from the newest student to the most established expert, everyone can find a genuine intellectual way into a conversation about improving our society. When we talk about the utopian impulse, we could be, and I'm just going to read this list here, we could be in an economics class, history, religious studies, fine arts, applied arts like architecture or fashion. I mean, think about that. What do people wear in a utopia? Food studies, agriculture, veterinary science or nutrition, urban planning, environmental science, gender studies, and sexuality studies. Law, right? This isn't even a complete list, but you can see it's a very long list. Oh my gosh, I had to turn the page here. Political science, and of course, philosophy, when we might think about ethical reasoning or human values. So all of these areas are implicated in this question, which makes it for me, a really great place to start thinking more deeply as you move through your studies here at the university about interdisciplinary inquiry and its possibilities beyond the classroom. So that's the first reason. So many kind of thinkers share this impulse for a better world. The second reason is that the impulse to imagine a perfect world is essential. I mean, it's essential. I don't have to tell you right now, there are crazy things going on in the world. As we're reading about the child in the closet in Omelas, you know, depending on where you're sitting, maybe just a few miles from where you are, there's a Chrome detention center or other place where our government is holding families and children. And some of those children are alone and they're very young. And so to sort of imagine that in this moment when there is so much going on, maybe it's a really good time to start thinking, what would we like it to look like if we're not fully satisfied or even remotely satisfied with the current state of affairs? I'll be honest with you, you know, this summer especially, it's pretty clear that people my age in their 50s and 60s, it's like society is a bus and we drove it into a ditch. You know, and now we're going to get sort of climb out of the bus and say, all right, now you drive, right? It would have been great if we'd handed you the steering wheel, if we'd handed you the keys while the bus was on the road, but we waited until the, you know, economy was collapsing and the you know, environment was on fire and a lot of people were really sick with a global pandemic, and now it's your turn. It's your turn to think about what we might do next. And you know, it would be a huge mistake for you to expect someone older or smarter or different from you to be the source of the answers that you're going to need, that I'm going to need going forward. I'm expecting it to be you. All right, so I'm absolutely like 100% on the level when I say that I think it's your responsibility. Maybe it's not fair, but it's certainly true that it's currently your responsibility to conceive a future and to be able to articulate it and write about your ideas in the world as you design and redesign the society we live in. So that's number two. I'm just like for real on that. And third, because as we're studying this question, it's not one with settled answers. So if we were in a physics class, even if we were in a history class, right, or a law class, it would be pretty clear that I am the stage, you know, the sage on the stage. I have all the answers because I am the professor. But actually, as I think the first and second points made, we're all coming to it with different kinds of expertise. And we're certainly coming to it with a contribution that really matters. I'm just going to pause here because I got a cough. So on this last point, I'm just going to read from my notes here. This is not one of those classes where you sit passively and wait like a little baby bird for me to stuff knowledge into your mouth and then you vomit it back on a test or paper. No, the work you're doing is a kind of work that we call critical thinking, where you sift through and think through and sort and categorize possibilities, discarding some and amplifying others. That's the kind of critical thinking, that's the kind of self-direction that I'm asking you to do in this course. It's a kind of creative critical thinking that I think is necessary for our future. And it should be something that I hope excites you in terms of your civic responsibilities, but also just in terms of like the fact that you could be a bringer of knowledge to this space. I'm really, really excited to hear your ideas and to hear you talking with other people in this class. You're definitely going to initially approach the material in an autobiographical way. What does it mean to you? And that's right, your subject position, who you are in the world. I can't divorce what I think about utopias from my experience as a woman with a political identity. I didn't ask for it. I just was born into the world. They looked at me in the hospital and they're like, we're going to call this a Black woman, right? Eventually, I guess I was a Black kid at first, right? And so my political identity, my femininity, my race, my socioeconomic position, those all inform my ideas about what might make the world better. And your individual approach matters too. It matters most of all. So we're going to put ourselves in conversation with people who've been writing and thinking about what would make the world better. All of the authors and texts we're going to read, and then people who are responsible for the future of our communities and societies, right? The future of what's going on here, our nation, our planet. We're going to put it in conversation with your ideas. And that's why I think that this topic is worth spending 16 weeks on. It's probably worth spending a lot more time on. That's what we got. All right, dudes, thanks for listening. I'm going to stop here and record lecture 4.